Hello everyone, welcome to game number 4 of the Casuals Tournament. We are back on Mars, as you can clearly see, featuring Zorbaz, Clippy, EvilDiablo, and AndreasG. This round is seeded, so we have the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th place players right now in this match.
Could I make a bet? Could I make a bold prediction? I haven't looked at the brackets, but I feel like Andreas is the 7th.
Probably should have looked at the brackets before starting, but what do you think about this map?
It looks a lot better than it is. The lot of the iron is currently stuck at the bottom left-hand side where you can't really found easily for it. A robot could potentially fit in, but it's going to be tough. And that's also, but there's water absolutely everywhere, so you're not even going to make much money off of the water if you found over there. There is silicon in some decent places, and there is also some workable carbon, which Zorbaz has gone to take. I'm surprised that he's found it first as a scavenger like it, though. It is only low carbon after all, and you can definitely work with this iron, like Andreas is about to do.
I like AndreasG's found. That seemed to be pretty good for the short and long game.
There's definitely going to be a found here that should have been first before Zorbaz decided to take his found.
Yes.
One thing worth noting, though, is that he went expansive. I would much rather have gone robot, because where is your aluminium?
That is true. I was looking around for that.
And we've got 3 scavengers, so you're not even going to be able to rely on the other players removing
on the other side of the map.
Down the aluminium for you.
So upgrades might be a little bit difficult. I do have an update, by the way. Clippy is number 1, EvilDiablo's 3, AndreasG is 5, and then Zorbaz is 7.
Oh, damn it. Andreas must have been doing really well off of our camera. Damn it. Okay. Well, I mean, yay. Good for you, Andreas. Woohoo. Well done. We all believed in you. Alright, well, actually, you know, EvilDiablo, he's done an interesting, but I think smart thing overall. He's going to double aluminium. It'll make him a lot of money off of Andreas, because Andreas is going to be driving the price up, but in return Andreas is going to be able to, you know, stay in the game and found, so they're going to like cohabitat for a while and bring themselves up to the top, whilst the other two are a little more competitive, both going into food at this point. Oh wait, no, Clippy is not the one going into food, so that's Andy with Diablo, yes, but they're all HQ2 at this point, but Clippy was a very, very long found. And Andreas, though, gets rid of Zorbaz's farms. As you can see, you know, Andreas and Diablo, they're a team. They're a team right now. They're beautiful. The 2 peas in a pod. It's beautiful. They're both in food. They're both shutting out everyone else from food. It's great. Friendly capitalists.
Yep. Well, EvilDiablo is the first HQ3.
Not surprising. He's bought core samples. What's he core sampling? He got a low carbon. He's looking for carbon, and he got a low carbon. Well, that's unfortunate for him. Yeah,
well, I mean, triple lows is unpreferred as a scavenger, but should be enough to get you through the game. That's one more claim on carbon that you probably don't want. At least there's no nukes, though.
Yeah, I mean, carbon is pretty high right now because no one has good carbon, and they're all scavengers. I mean, okay, Clippy has a medium carbon, which isn't awful, and he's muling, which I do like. Although he's in chems, which very profitable right now, but the fuel price likes to go up.
Yeah, the fuel price is going to skew up rapidly. Andreas actually beating Clippy to HQ3, so despite not having any aluminum,
is available for option.
That's the power of the fuel. That's the power of the aluminium feed right there. Helping out whilst Andreas gets himself situated. Of course, with only 2 steel mills, he's going to be a bit slow getting up past this, because steel suddenly becomes a lot more expensive to purely for upgrading. He's going into solar panels, which is a decent choice. Although we already have EvilDiablo into some power, and it looks like Zorbaz is going into some wind turbines as well. This is a very powerful high carbon potentially. I don't know where it is. Oh, I do. It's
all the way up there.
Okay.
So, Andreas probably didn't want that, considering it's literally on the opposite side of the map from him.
Just as a silicon shortage happens as well, which makes it quite awkward to even place a solar panel on it. Teleportation. There we go. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Clippy finally gets to HQ3. Oh no, Clippy has got rid of his chems at this point. Ooh.
Well, I mean, they weren't making that much money.
They weren't making that much money, but the fact that you've had to just get out of your only triangle that was existing, that hurts. And surplus water as he goes into the water pumps.
Oops. Yeah, just going for a triangle of wind turbines, that is a bold move, especially when you're the last person to move into power.
He needs to do something about it, right?
Well,
he's got some time, right? Andreas only has 2 solar panels up. That's not going to get rid of that much power. It's barely going to cover himself, honestly. I mean, plus 1.5 in total, but that's barely covering yourself, really.
We do have some fights over power. EvilDiablo freezing out Zorbaz. Zorbaz mutinying one of EvilDiablo's wind turbines.
Those two are fighting each other. They don't even notice that Clippy's going to have power, right? Meanwhile, we haven't actually talked about the colony. The colony is consuming 0.6 power, but is also consuming 1.4 glass.
Yeah, everyone's glass.
That's something Andreas is able to use, but the others have trouble with silicon right now. I mean, there are core samples that exist, but not great spots for anyone to core sample silicon, really.
Mutinies back and forth, but Zorbaz ends up with a strictly worse wind turbine.
Zorbaz strictly worse. EvilDiablo making money off of it, but Clippy is also going to soon make money off of their wind turbines.
Yeah, power's staying a lot higher than I would have guessed at first. So that should change rapidly as Andreas is finally making 2.5 power.
Yeah, Andreas also just mutinied a wind turbine, and that got rid of one of the adjacencies, which reduces the overall amount of power production on the map in total, which is only a positive for Clippy.
But a dust storm.
And then a dust storm. Okay.
That's going to say, Andreas, no more power for you off those solar panels. It'll reduce by 50%. And so whoever controls the wind turbine...
Okay, mutinies are already up to 14k at this point. Whoever's going to make money off of power is not making as much money as they just spent on all these mutinies.
No.
Apart from Clippy, who didn't buy any.
Now, Clippy's looking like they're going to go into this dust storm pretty good, except the fact that power's probably going to be dead by then.
Yes. Meanwhile, EvilDiablo's like, screw it, I'm not going to make any more power money. Let's go into water engine. That'll pay itself, right? 24k for water engine?
Yeah, that might be a little bit high, but I mean, there's enough debt to afford it.
If this game goes on as long as the last lot have, it'll have paid itself off.
Yes, for sure.
But it's going to take a while.
It will. So everyone's in HQ4. Clippy getting to HQ4 just behind Andreas, which is not what you want to see.
That extra food cost actually might be a problem, because it's going to make it even harder for him to make power money. He's just barely making power money right now off of these turbines. These turbines individually are producing a good amount of money, but that's just going down and down and down.
Yeah, Clippy...
But they're still not terrible. I would take $50 tiles right now.
Clippy came so close to paying off all of their debt, but now it's going back up again.
He did. He paid it off for a good, 5 seconds.
Okay. Well, rounding, that didn't happen.
Okay. Meanwhile,
Zorbaz
greenhouse farms are now worthless.
Double aluminum? Or were they already in double aluminum? I don't remember. Zorbaz has a lot of things. Oh, that's Andreas, sorry.
That's Andreas, not Zorbaz. Which is very odd, because that's a lot of fuel cost. They've decided to cut ties with EvilDiablo at this point. They don't like him. Turns out that Diablo's the devil. So
if he swaps out those 100% worthless solar panels into some electrolysis reactors, that won't be too much of an issue. Andreas also going into a patent lab, so expect teleportation to be coming
they've got
up
to be going
soon.
for teleportation at this point. They've already got the carbon tile that they've still not put a carbon on. They might as well at least put the carbon on it and just turn it off.
EvilDiablo just freezed by
Zorbaz.
Also core sampling out from silicon.
Very powerful freeze, hits a lot of tiles.
Makes sense, because EvilDiablo is the first at HQ5 going into chems. Should make some decent money, but
not only Not only was he the first to HQ5, but he also has the cash advantage over every other player right now.
Yep. So that tells you just how much of a lead EvilDiablo's in right now.
Making a good amount of money off that water. Surprisingly, Clippy's water is not being sold down, so you know, that's good for him. Silicon, yeah, no, Andreas is still 6. Yeah, Clippy did go into a second Silicon, so he's now in 2 lows. But that's just going to raise fuel price again. Fuel price is going to be quite high throughout most of this game, until the teleportation comes up at the very least. I mean, there is water engine, but you know.
Water engine for EvilDiablo, teleportation for AndreasG. Well, this means AndreasG might be able to make... Well, actually, fuel's only 54, despite everybody who's...
Because everyone's also building a lot of electrolysis.
Everyone's just barely covering their own fuel costs, making a little bit of a surplus. Zorbaz, HQ5, second player into HQ5. Andreas looking to defend themselves. Clippy has the upgrade whenever they would like, but are probably worried about EvilDiablo's large cash stockpile.
Yeah,
they decide to risk it
nope,
anyway.
Not. Not at all. Clippy's like, nope, not at all. I've got my Patent Lab Flash Pleasure Dome going up. It'll be fine. I will live. And looks like he's not going to get punished for it, at least for now. He's going to be able to make those farms. And once those farms come up, they make a lot of money. He'll probably be able to defend himself quite easily.
Yep, looks like it was a gamble worth taking. Clippy has quite the large stockpile of water, and somebody else just sold out of it.
Yep, that would be EvilDiablo. Nope, never mind. Well, maybe he sold out of some, but he had a large stockpile.
Everyone has a large
could even go into off-worlds.
stockpile, except for Andreas. EvilDiablo is trying to make the buy onto Clippy. Clippy, because you're a good person to purchase, Clippy. Good HQ, that's why.
Yeah, it looks like they just didn't quite give him enough time, although Diablo isn't making much money right now. They're making about the same income right now. Okay, no, never mind. If someone else helps.
Helping.
Yeah. I think Clippy could have survived if it was just EvilDiablo.
Zorbaz deciding better of helping.
Wait, maybe Zorbaz was like, never mind, they can defend, so... Oh, he's decided, yeah, no, it's smarter for us to go into EvilDiablo at this point. Yeah, Clippy's gonna live. He's gonna be fine. They were making about equal in terms of income anyway. Clippy does, of course, have that Pleasure Dome advantage, making 360, which is very nice. Makes more than the Offworlds would in this situation. Wait, no. Okay, Water's a pretty good launch for Offworlds right now.
Yeah, well, Offworlds are pretty good. AndreasG, I'm thinking about going into thinking machines before anybody else decides to go into thinking machines. Offworlds only costs 67k to build, and there are holograms on the market.
That's such a shame. You see all of these people being so aggressive on the market, and now no one has stock in anyone else, basically.
Well, so everybody ganged up to defend Clippy. They decided they did not want EvilDiablo getting another early advantage.
They just love that little paperclip too much.
Not that anybody knows necessarily who's who, because Masquerade is on for our players.
Of course. But I mean, he did say, why me? You know, that's a Clippy thing to say, isn't it?
I suppose. I don't play enough games with Clippy to know for
50
sure.
eyes. I was referring to the Microsoft program. Andreas did manage to get to HQ5 through all of that. They have spent 4 of their 6 claims right now. They can afford to go all these miles away for that stuff, since it is now
going into virtual reality. Andreas wants to get in on that Pleasure Dome action,
and they will.
Has a better adjacency for Andreas's Pleasure Dome. And then, unfortunately, that means Clippy is going to beat Andreas 2 thinking machines.
But I don't think Andreas necessarily needs it against a bunch of scavengers. I mean, okay, so I know what I just said. Scavengers do have very powerful black markets, but she could also just outproduce them whilst they all fight amongst each other.
Yes, he could. Especially if you can maybe spot somebody else's buildings. EvilDiablo going into double optimization centers. The prices on the board are actually pretty high right now, so that's not completely a bad idea. In fact, that might be a decent idea.
Joining some wind turbines, an interesting choice considering I don't think turbines provide adjacency to panels.
Zorbaz building a off-world market right now, while being bought into by EvilDiablo.
can he defend himself?
Or is he going to have to sell that off-world?
I think he's gonna have to sell that off.
Yeah.
But Diablo's not buying any more into him right now.
I'm not sure why, to be honest.
He doesn't have any idea that the offworld's there.
No.
Well, okay, he can see the quarry being built, right? So maybe he knows and he's just waiting for it to be built before he continues.
Or maybe he's thinking, maybe he's thinking that Zorbaz has to defend themselves, and then once they don't, they're just gonna keep on trying.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I mean,
Zorbaz does have enough to defend themselves right now. After the timeouts, just barely.
Yes, just barely. But I mean, they would have had. They just spent a good 3K on some viruses as well on these chems, just to try and find if Diablo's got one. But Diablo doesn't have one. Diablo doesn't make off-worlds, guys, as we've learned throughout the games. Instead, he just you know, just goes ahead and queues seven researchers.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now, EvilDiablo still might be able to take out Zorbaz, but probably not. Zorbaz has enough to defend themselves. If EvilDiablo
Zorbaz has to actually, you know,
didn't
do it.
Hesitate. Yes, Zorbaz does have to pay attention.
Okay, he cancelled it with 1 second left.
Well, now he's launching something.
Cancelled the food. Oh no, he's kept auto launches turned on, so it immediately turned on to auto launching something else, and he dies for it.
That was 100% preventable. You could have sold...
That is why you try not to auto launch more than one thing at a time, and also pay attention earlier.
Yeah.
He cancelled the food launch, which immediately bought an oxygen shipment, which immediately started launching oxygen, which immediately meant he couldn't defend himself.
Well, Andreas
what a way to go!
Buying into Zorbaz.
That's a good choice.
Yes, it is a good choice. Clippy is somehow in D+1 debt.
Despite having positive power the entire game.
While we were talking about, well, that's because Clippy is decided, what's life support? I don't care about it. Other than water.
That's a fair thing to say. Although at this point, he's now a D+3. If he'd, he could have not done an off-world there and instead paid off his debt so that he was back into C before that tick. But yeah, I don't know. EvilDiablo is definitely going to have some really good optimizations. I mean, Electronics again is so profitable. This colony, man, this colony is a glass. Oh no, it's only glass. I thought there was some electronics factories as well. No, it's all glass and power and food. Wow, that food.
So while we were talking about the whole EvilDiablo Zorbaz thing, Andreas has been quietly patenting almost every patent in the game: superconductor, financial instruments, virtual reality, nanotech, teleportation.
They've made a lot of money on power as a result of that. I was about to mention it, then we had that whole thing happen. Built wind turbines and built solar panels, although they don't provide adjacency bonuses to each other, which is kind of weird. Got frozen out there, that's unfortunate. Just as he's in the middle of his hologram for there is an optimization center. Virus everywhere. They've decided he's a threat.
I mean, he is. Andreas right now is probably a bigger threat than Clippy because Clippy is struggling in D+4 debt right now. Clippy does have an off-world. Nobody has noticed it just yet.
I mean, that first launch is finished, and that's 80k. That's good. You could almost pay off your debt with that.
Yeah, I mean, Clippy probably, it's pay off that debt now or never. You have another 10 hours to pay through some of that debt, so you don't get a killer interest tick.
Two launches should pay it off. And he does. He pays off one shot right now. He's now at D+1. Next one will take him to C, and he'll be fine. Speaking of which, these pleasure domes, 300 on one pleasure dome and 460 on the other. That's some powerful pleasure domes.
That is a powerful pleasure dome. Virtual reality paying off for AndreasG. EvilDiablo, I want to point out this is a nice little trick here. Finding the shared off-world from the subsidiary and mutinying it, so that way Andreas doesn't get it.
That's an okay play in that respect, but also just makes more money for you, right? You only ever get 25% of what the subsidiary makes, so it is just worth it. But at the same time, you are saying to the world, hey, now people should stop mutinying me. But as a scavenger, he can definitely make more use out of that than others. Clippy's going to a second off-world. He's in D debt. Didn't go to that D+1 threshold. He managed to pay off just in time. And he's in 2 off-worlds, but one of them isn't even hologrammed.
Well, I mean, he couldn't afford it to get the off-world and the hologram at the same time, and just making a bet that EvilDiablo and Andreas are going to be focused on each other, which is true. EvilDiablo does have 300k in the bank, seems to be focusing that aggression on Andreas. Andreas is just going into 2 off-worlds themselves. One is up, launching water, which is the best launch.
I will say though, Clippy, even with all of his stock purchase, is still cheaper than either Diablo or Andreas for both of the other 2 players.
Yeah, and I mean, once Clippy gets, you know, if you buy Clippy, you get him out of debt, he probably makes some decent money.
I mean, double off-worlds is going to be a very profitable subsidiary.
Well, they only know about 1.
That's true. They only know about 1, and there are no spies. This was a hologram without spies game, which is always so scary to play.
Especially in an FFA where it's impossible to keep track of all the off-worlds. You have to guess intelligently with a network virus. EvilDiablo definitely getting the better off of the stock game over Andreas, able to purchase Andreas' stock long before Andreas was able to purchase EvilDiablo's stock.
But in exchange for that, he hasn't been putting up any off-worlds of his own, and that could be quite worrisome for his future prospects here. I mean, he's got optimizations, but will it be enough? I don't think so.
I have already perfect optimizations in electronics going into the 3rd tier, which I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Advanced, and have perfect queued up for food and oxygen respectively. Sitting on 400 fuel.
Diablo, have you been playing Elite recently?
What a payout.
Maybe he should move to Elite. He really likes these optimizations.
Most of the time, perfect I don't think is worth it, especially when chems are so high.
Yeah. Generally, I put 2. If I'm doing this, I would put 2 into something, and then leave it at 2, or maybe even go into a 3rd later. But it's 80 chems.
Yeah, 19k to get that next optimization, and it takes a long time to actually research, and then you have to make money off of it to earn that back.
Make room for the profits.
That being said, EvilDiablo continues to mutiny. Zorbaz is
working out very well. Although he hasn't got anything launched right now. He's wasting 40 seconds of launch time.
Yeah, not paying attention there. Has 93% on Andreas.
It's worth it to buy Clippy, I think, at this point. Then again, no, never mind. He is just that close to Andreas.
No, you just take Andreas. It would be worth for Andreas to buy Clippy, but Andreas needs 10 more K.
Yeah.
Wait, why did
he does go for Clippy. Okay.
Well, that just makes...
with Clippy, he should still win, but it's going to be a bit more awkward now.
It's going to be far closer than it should be. You wait a little bit more as EvilDiablo, take out Andreas, and then Clippy doesn't have enough income to take you out. There's 10k network viruses to pop the goon on the known off-world.
Right, yeah, I mean, the subsidiaries, because of the way subsidiaries are coded, they start off with some really poor launches, but once they get money, they'll go into some good ones. The question is if Andreas can finish this guy before the subsidiary gets going.
Diablo
because
needs
he might be able to...
600k, half the way there. Andreas needs 850k.
And is 2/3 the way there.
So, I mean, it's going to be very close. Very, very close finish, and it didn't need to. Look, despite all those optimizations in the food... Oh, someone just sold out of a bunch of water, so now they're back to being very profitable again.
Yeah, but still, like, these 3rd levels, these perfects probably just weren't worth it, honestly, in this game.
No.
And and EvilDiablo's war pumps were frozen out.
Andreas might win,
is,
87% of the way there, 88%. It's getting
70,
very
yeah.
close. Andreas has the
Yeah, actually,
offloads.
Andreas is going to win this. Never mind. Yeah, no.
40k launches,
yep.
those should push him to victory, and that missed by EvilDiablo, going to cost them the game. They had it right in front of them. Andreas just needs to realize that they have the buy right now. Thinking about it.
That's going to be awkward. Yeah, that's twice now that EvilDiablo's thought he's got the win, goes to something, and then just dies for it. Those optimizations do not pay for themselves late game. Imagine if one of those optimization centers has been a hacker array this whole time, for example. So awkward, Diablo doing that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Diablo able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory at the end of that game.
That's not something you like to see. 2 games in a row now. But well played for Andreas. Made a lot of money off of power, then transitioned very well, used the patterns very well, did not over commit to the optimizations. He only got into 3 in the food, for example. But he probably the financial lead wasn't necessary. I don't know how much did the financials make in the end.
That'd be under balance sheet.
43k.
Yep, definitely worth it.
Yes. They paid for themselves. They paid for itself at the end of the day. Chems were always high throughout, and yeah, I mean that's another thing, right? Chems were high throughout, and Diablo only had 2 chem factories. The entire time, and didn't even upgrade chems.
Yeah, if you're gonna go for all of those optimizations in chems, you definitely need to have some chems of your own and for those to be optimized.
Yeah, he's trying to out expansive and expansive. That only works if you're an elite
or a scientist.
I don't even think the scientists can, really. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
those,
if water is like, ending the game at 300 or whatever, scientist doesn't care. So their farms would still be profitable.
Yeah, that's the. Also, I'd just like to point out that those 2 pleasure domes, 282k and 198k respectively, a lot of good money there. Although EvilDiablo made 172k off of Offworlds, despite he only put 2 mutinies into it. Definitely was worth it in the end for that. It was a good play, very good play. Pity he didn't have a hacker array or kill Andreas to make up for it.